Welcome to today's episode of the Daily Sports Content Economy podcast for March 18th, 2026. We created this podcast specifically for alternative and Tier 2 sports leagues, teams, competitions, and the athletes who compete in them. We just got out of a meeting with Bryce, and he wanted us to share what should be top of mind for today as you navigate the day.
Yeah, and to really deliver on what Bryce asked for, we are diving into a massive stack of material that you, our listener, uploaded for us. We're talking a grand total of over 25 distinct sources, articles, and industry newsletters.
Right. It is a huge stack, and we are going to synthesize all of it into this deep dive. Our main mission today is looking at the rapidly evolving sports content economy.
Exactly, because the rules of engagement are they're completely changing right in front of us.
They really are. And just to set the stage, I want to fire off the top headlines you flagged from these sources because they really show what we're up against today. So first up, from The Athletic and SBJ, we have the WNBA and its players reaching this historic late-night verbal agreement on a new collective bargaining agreement.
Which is just a monumental shift in labor dynamics.
Oh, absolutely. Then, from Sport Business, we see capital completely flooding into alternative sports, with the Danish Sail GP franchise valuation skyrocketing to an unprecedented $60 million.
$60 million. I mean, that's just wild for that space.
Right. And then from The Athletic, there's this amazing cultural story where Venezuela stuns the USA in an absolute thriller at the World Baseball Classic.
Yeah, the contrast in that game was fascinating.
It really was. And finally, from Cap Signal Sports, we're seeing millions in early-stage capital pouring into what they call format-native infrastructure for niche sports. So things like Padel and hybrid fitness racing.
And, we aren't just going to recap these headlines. Our goal is to translate these trends into highly actionable strategies. We want to outline exactly what athletes, teams, and challenger leagues need to plan for to survive in this totally new market.
Yeah, so let's jump right in. Let's start with the very foundation of this economy, which is the athletes themselves.
Right, the economics of the modern athlete.
Exactly. Your sources from The Athletic and SBJ detailed this literal marathon negotiation for the WNBA's new CBA. We are talking about over 100 hours of intense locked-door negotiation.
Over 8 days, yeah. It became this genuine battle of attrition over future media rights multiples.
Right, they were just totally deadlocked over the revenue share structure.
Completely deadlocked.
So paint this picture. It is roughly 3 a.m. The league and the players' union have finally whittled down this incredibly contentious revenue share divide to just a mere 4% difference.
Just 4%.
Yeah, and they bridge that final gap, and suddenly you have WNBA Commissioner Kathy Engelbert and the union leadership standing in front of these exhausted reporters with glasses of champagne to announce the deal.
At 3 a.m., I mean, it's incredible.
Right. The season starts on time, but more importantly, the players secured a significantly larger chunk of the long-term revenue.
And that 4% difference, it wasn't just a rounding error. It represented a fundamental bet on the exponential growth of women's sports.
Absolutely.
But while that CBA is this great traditional collective labor victory, the way individual athletes are generating their own leverage is where the landscape is completely fracturing right now.
How so?
Well, if we look at the NCAA tournament and the current NIL era where athletes profit from their name, image, and likeness, the whole sponsorship model has basically been inverted.
Right. The power dynamics are totally different.
Exactly. According to reporting from Modern Retail and Money Call, it's actually food, beverage, and quick service restaurant brands that are currently driving the highest deal volume.
Oh, wow. Really?
Yeah, but here's the kicker. They are not buying traditional commercials.
Okay, let's unpack this, because in the old model, a sponsorship just meant a brand paid a total fortune to slap a logo on a stadium wall, right? Or they paid an athlete to mindlessly hold a sports drink in some magazine ad.
Right. Passive advertising.
Yeah, but the Modern Retail source notes that athletes are now operating as independent creators. They're using formats like Get Ready With Me videos on social media to integrate products organically into their daily routines.
Which is completely brilliant.
It is. It's no longer a corporate endorsement. It is a personalized media network run entirely by, a 20-year-old point guard from their dorm room.
They've transitioned from being passive billboards to active narrative engines. And the reason a quick-service restaurant prefers a Get Ready With Me video over a standard TV spot is all about the parasocial relationship.
The intimacy of it.
Exactly. When an athlete talks directly to their camera while eating a specific brand's meal before a big game, it feels authentic.
Yeah.
The conversion rate on that authenticity just absolutely crushes the ROI of a sterile 30-second television commercial.
I totally get that.
Yep.
But this introduces a really fascinating and honestly maybe a dangerous tension for the sport itself.
Oh, for sure.
Because Money Call raises this exact point regarding the NCAA tournament. If financial inequality in this NIL era means mid-major Cinderellas are essentially just becoming unpaid scouting departments like talent feeders for the massive powerhouses, do we lose the magic of the sport's upset?
Yeah, because any breakout star at a small school will just transfer to a massive program for a bigger payday, right?
Exactly.
What's fascinating here is how the underlying mechanism of that power shift actually works, and how the smartest programs are realizing that just throwing random piles of cash at players isn't sustainable.
Right, you need a strategy.
Yeah, and the reporting highlights BYU as a prime example of this. Their strategic NIL spending isn't just about writing blank checks to buy a roster for one season.
So what are they doing differently?
They are treating their basketball program like a corporate research and development arm. They tie their NIL funds directly to local real estate, local business development, and basically building a larger self-sustaining sports ecosystem right there in the Salt Lake City region.
Oh, that's incredibly smart. So it isn't just a free-for-all bidding war. It's calculated, long-term corporate strategy applied to talent retention.
Precisely. And this dictates a very clear, actionable takeaway for any Tier 2 athlete or any team operating outside the massive legacy monopolies.
Which is what?
Stop trying to sell logo space. Start selling your storytelling.
I love that.
Yeah, if a brand wants to work with you, they aren't buying access to your audience's eyeballs anymore. They are buying into the authentic, ongoing narrative you are actively building. You essentially have to become your own media channel.
But for those athletes to build those lucrative narratives, they still need an actual game to play, right? And fans still need a way to watch that game.
Very true.
Which brings us to the whole concept of democratization. If you think about how we have consumed sports for the last half-century, the ultimate symbol of legitimacy has always been that massive television production truck.
Oh yeah, the massive 18-wheeler.
Exactly. Thick black cable spilling out over the concrete, millions of dollars of broadcasting gear, a crew of 50 people, all just to get a single game onto your TV screen.
And it's completely controlled by a centralized few. The barrier to entry was literally a multi-million-dollar physical object.
Right.
If an alternative league couldn't afford to summon that truck, they essentially didn't exist.
But according to the sources, alternative sports are bypassing traditional linear TV networks entirely now.
They have to. The math on the old broadcast model just doesn't work for a niche sport. You negotiate a massive rights deal, they pay for the truck, and beam your game out. But younger demographics aren't passively slipping through cable channels waiting to be entertained anyway.
No, they definitely aren't. In fact, according to Streamtime Sports, platforms like TikTok are capturing audiences that traditional TV cannot even measure.
It's all about vertical viewing now.
Yeah, vertical viewing, second screen habits, and creator-led storytelling. It is an entirely co-created culture. And this isn't just grassroots stuff either.
Right, even the big players are noticing.
Exactly. TubeFilter reported that for the World Cup, FIFA is actually giving a select cohort of YouTube creators unparalleled behind-the-scenes access to matches.
That's huge for FIFA.
It is. These creators aren't just sitting in a suite reacting. They are providing real-time tactical breakdowns, human interest stories, and raw emotional content right alongside the official global TV broadcasters.
So the broadcast is being decentralized. And simultaneously, the technological barrier to producing a high-quality live feed is completely collapsing.
Which leads right into that Cap Signal sports report you mentioned earlier.
Yes, the report on a startup called Iko. This is so critical. Iko just raised $1.5 million to build an AI-native broadcast layer specifically designed for mid-tier and alternative leagues.
Okay, explain the actual mechanics of that, because how does an AI broadcast a live sport?
So it uses advanced computer vision to track the raw, on-field events like player movements, ball velocity, referee signals.
Okay.
It feeds that spatial data into a large language model that's been specifically trained on sports commentary.
Wow.
Yeah, and instantly the AI generates automated, localized play-by-play commentary. It creates contextual insights and cuts personalized highlight reels in real time.
That's insane.
It really is. It takes the operating cost of a live broadcast from tens of thousands of dollars per game down to just the cost of standard server compute time.
But wait, hold on. If we have AI, narrating a sterile data feed, or we are just watching a YouTuber watch a soccer game from their bedroom, aren't we killing the shared cultural magic of a live broadcast?
How do you mean?
I mean, we lose that iconic human announcer making the call of a lifetime that millions of people experience at the exact same second. It feels like we are fragmenting the shared reality of sports into these isolated, algorithmic bubbles.
I hear that. But if we connect this to the bigger picture, it's not about destroying the shared experience. It's about acknowledging that algorithmic discovery is the new cultural campfire.
Algorithmic discovery.
Yeah. A mid-tier league simply cannot rely on the hope that someone happens to flip to channel 842 on their cable box. AI broadcast layers like Iko assume that niche sports need always-on, personalized, multi-language storytelling just to capture viewers globally.
Oh, I see. Because you can't afford a human broadcast team for every minor league match in 8 different languages.
Exactly, but an AI can do it instantly.
So the technology isn't replacing the magic. It's manufacturing the scale that these leagues desperately need to survive.
Precisely. Which gives us a vital, actionable takeaway for challenger leagues.
Let's hear it.
The barrier to entry has officially vanished. You do not need a multi-million-dollar television deal to take your sport global. You need to leverage these AI overlays to produce infinite localized content cheaply. And you need to empower independent creators to co-broadcast and remix your events.
Because your future fans are already on those platforms.
Right, you just have to give the algorithm the raw materials to find them.
And that technological shift perfectly explains what institutional investors are looking for right now. Capital isn't just blindly chasing the NFL or the NBA anymore.
Not at all.
Private equity and venture capital are looking at participation-heavy alternative sports. Let's look at the actual numbers from your sources. Sport Business reported that the Danish team in SailGP, which is this high-speed global sailing league, just reached a franchise valuation of $60 million.
Which is a massive jump.
Right, because in the early seasons of that league, teams were valued between 5 and 10 million. That is explosive growth.
And it's because the league owns the proprietary boat technology and the centralized broadcast IP.
Exactly. And then CapSignal Sports highlights how capital is clustering around participation software. A company called Racket 360 just raised a $9 million growth round to build an integrated U.S. Padel ecosystem.
Padel being that rapidly growing racket sport that has already conquered Europe and Latin America and is now just scaling aggressively in the United States.
Right. But Racket 360 isn't just pouring concrete and building physical courts. They are building a software layer that connects the clubs, the leagues, the local events, and the retail equipment sales all under one centralized platform.
That ecosystem approach is everywhere now.
It is. We see the exact same thing in the fitness space. A company called RoxFit raised $2.4 million to build an AI-driven training and analytics platform specifically tailored for Ashwai Arc-style hybrid fitness racing.
It's even happening at the grassroots youth level, too.
Yeah, your sources from Buying Sandlot detail Game Changer, which is a youth sports app investing $250,000 into expanding access and coach development.
And don't forget the rodeo space.
Oh, right! The Cowboy Plus newsletter covered the Resistol Rookie Roundup in Fort Worth. That isn't just a rodeo, it's an entire ecosystem designed to launch the next generation of athletes with mentorship programs and a $100,000 purse.
There is a highly specific pattern emerging across all of these seemingly disconnected investments.
Here's where it gets really interesting to me. It feels like investors have realized that buying a single sports team is like downloading one app onto your smartphone.
That's a great way to put it.
Right. It's fun, it might hold some value, but it's isolated. What these funds are doing now with Padel, with hybrid fitness, with youth sports software is buying the entire operating system. They don't want the app. They want to own the software that runs the app store itself.
That is exactly the business mechanic at play here. Capital is actively rewarding infrastructure that converts sporadic, unpredictable physical participation into predictable, recurring digital revenue.
Making it frictionless.
Yeah, look at the friction of traditional local sports. You have to call a community center to book a tennis court, use a messy group chat to find a partner, and go to a separate store to buy a racket.
It's exhausting just thinking about it.
Right. The Racket 360 thesis is that Padel in the U.S. will only scale if it operates as a seamless digital ecosystem. If you can wire the court reservations, the league fees, the rankings, and the paddle purchases into a single system of record, You capture the entire lifetime value of that player.
You aren't just leasing out a physical court for an hour.
Exactly. You are monetizing the entire participation economy for that sport.
Which makes the actionable takeaway for organizers of alternative sports incredibly stark. You must own the entire loop. From the exact moment a player discovers your sport on TikTok, to booking their first match, to tracking their stats, to buying their gear, fragmented software and disconnected physical experiences will actively destroy your valuation.
If your players have to open 3 different apps just to participate in your weekend league, you are bleeding revenue.
100%. Okay, so we've broken down the economics of the athlete, the mechanics of the AI broadcasts, and the software operating systems. But ultimately, all of this infrastructure exists to serve the actual product on the field.
The game itself.
Right. And how cultural differences dictate how a sport is consumed and marketed globally is drastically changing. Your sources provided a brilliant case study on this with the World Baseball Classic.
Oh, that was such a good breakdown. The contrast in how different cultures process competition is a massive variable in the modern content economy.
According to the Athletic Windup, the WBC final was an absolute masterpiece. Venezuela stunned the USA, winning 3-2. And eerily, the game ended with the exact same high-leverage strikeout scenario to seal a one-run game as the previous tournament.
The exact same scenario.
Yeah, but the real story is the profound cultural contrast in how those two teams approached the very concept of baseball. The newsletter broke down the traditional American sports ethos, which is deeply rooted in this austere scoreboard baby mentality.
Like Vince Lombardi's famous quote, right?
Exactly. Winning isn't everything, it's the only thing. Or George Steinbrenner saying, winning is the most important thing in my life after breathing.
It is an incredibly intense, almost corporatized focus entirely on the end result. Like if you don't secure the championship, the entire endeavor is viewed as a failure.
Right. Now contrast that sterile approach with the Latin American culture we saw from the Venezuelan team. After the final out, their post-game celebration wasn't some standard PR-managed press conference.
No, they were weeping openly on the field.
They were dancing in the dugout. They were belting out their national anthem with the fans. Eugenio Suarez told a reporter, they play with that level of visible passion because, as he put it, we feel the jersey.
It was pure, unadulterated joy.
And the global financial market aggressively responds to that emotion. SBJ reported that Japanese brands completely dominated the outfield wall sponsorships for the tournament. Out of 11 corporate brands plastered on that wall, 10 were from Japan.
10 out of 11.
Yeah. The global reach and financial power of this event is just undeniable.
And that contrast between the American results-oriented mindset and the Latin American process-oriented mindset is really the skeleton key for modern content creation.
So what does this all mean for a Tier 2 team trying to build a global fan base from scratch? The traditional American approach feels like an obsessive corporate spreadsheet-like, if the math adds up to a win, the fans are supposed to be happy.
Right.
But the Latin American approach is this vibrant, emotional dance. Can you actually market pure joy better than you can market a sterile mathematical victory?
This raises an important question about what modern fans are actually paying for with their time and attention. If we look at the algorithmic data across social platforms, the answer is definitively yes. Joy is highly marketable.
It really translates.
It does. Finding visible joy in the process of playing translates directly into higher engagement rates, longer watch times, and deeper brand loyalty.
Because it's relatable.
Exactly. When athletes show raw emotion and play for each other, rather than just a statistical metric, it bypasses the analytical brain. It creates a parasocial emotional connection with the audience.
That makes a lot of sense.
So for an alternative sports league that maybe doesn't feature the absolute highest level of technical perfection in the world, leaning into the culture, the passion, and the pure joy of the competition is your biggest competitive advantage.
Because you can't guarantee a win.
Right. You cannot mathematically guarantee your fans a win every night, but you can guarantee an environment where the passion is infectious. That authentic emotion is the most viral coefficient in sports today.
It really is. Okay, we have covered an immense amount of ground today. Let's do a quick synthesis of the mechanics we've unpacked from your sources before we wrap up.
Sounds good.
The overarching reality is that the sports content economy is decentralizing at light speed. The modern athlete is no longer a passive billboard. They are their own independent media creator leveraging authentic storytelling to drive revenue.
Absolutely.
And the massive, expensive TV production trucks are being entirely replaced by computer vision, AI broadcast layers, and creator co-streams, which drops the barrier to entry to zero for challenger leagues.
Yep, the truck is gone.
Meanwhile, private equity is ignoring single-team vanity purchases to buy the underlying software operating systems of niche sports like Padel and hybrid fitness.
Man.
And finally, when it comes to the product itself, authentic, process-driven joy is proving to be a significantly more powerful marketing tool than sterile corporate perfection.
It really is a complete structural reimagining of how sports are played, how they are broadcast, and how they are monetized.
And before we go, I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over something that takes everything we've discussed today to its logical extreme.
Oh, let's hear it.
If an individual athlete in a Tier 2 sport now possesses the exact same technological broadcasting power and the exact same direct-to-fan monetization tools as a massive legacy major league team,
Yeah.
what happens to the very concept of a franchise in 10 years? Will fans pledge their ultimate lifelong loyalty to individual human beings and personalized recommendation algorithms rather than a corporate logo arbitrarily tied to a specific geographic city?
Wow. It's the existential question every legacy league needs to be asking themselves right now.
We will definitely be watching to see how it plays out. Thank you so much for sharing this incredible stack of sources with us and for taking this deep dive. The traditional broadcast truck might be driving off into the sunset, but what is replacing it is faster, smarter, and infinitely more accessible. Catch you next time.
Thanks for listening to this edition of the Daily Sports Content Economy Podcast. If you're ready to build your content media empire, we should probably talk. Visit rootgroupmarketing.com. Thanks for watching and listening.